Amy Henderson is a choir director, the executive director of a high-profile nonprofit, and the mother of 2 glorious boys. We talk about the energy it takes to pull all that off, the things Amy has had to do in the past so that current-day Amy is creatively satisfied, and what it's like to be married to and parenting with another professional musician. All right, I think we're live. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Yay! All right, cool. So welcome Amy Henderson to Make Like a Mother. I will have already talked about you prior to this, so we're not going to do I'm not going to do a big bio about you right now. We're just going to dive in, if that's good.
Yeah, bring it on.
Awesome. However, I would like to hear how you introduce yourself to someone that you're just meeting for the first time.
I didn't think we'd start with such a hard question to start.
Do you want to skip it?
No, it's okay. It's depends on the day. So in my day job, I run a nonprofit organization called Business and Arts Newfoundland and Labrador that is focused on building capacity in the arts community. So I do lots of arts-facing work in that job, but it's also a lot of economic development and advocacy work. So sometimes that's the answer. And then other times I get to introduce myself as the artistic director of Projēkt Chamber Voices, which is this amazing group of kick-ass people that I get to make music with. So yeah, I am a musician and arts administrator.
Cool. All right. Tell me more about Projēkt.
Projēkt is the chosen project. So I had a chapter of my career where I was making music full-time. I was running a children's choir, youth choir, working as an assistant conductor in big orchestral choirs, started a chamber choir, ran a women's choir. And then when I moved back to St. John's, I went into motherhood and arts administration. And after a few years, my soul was drying up and I was like, ooh, I have this career and this thing that is the thing I've wanted to do and be since I was 15 years old, and I'm not doing it right now. But I have a baby, and how do I in a full-time job. So how do I make it all work? And I was like, if I'm going to have a choir, I'm not teaching notes in rehearsal. I'm not staking territory in a city that already has amazing choirs. I'm not ambitious in that way. So how can I make good choir music in a way that fits that? So we're project-based. We do 9 rehearsals and a concert in an intense period of time. We don't do Christmas concerts. We get out of the way of the community for Christmas concerts. We do a intense winter project and then get out of the way for all the other choirs in town to do spring concerts. And we sing contemporary music, and it's a tight group of people, maximum 27 voices per project, so that everyone feels really, really responsible for their part. So we're really as close to being a group of equals making music together as possible. And I'm just the one who stands on the podium and the gym teacher blows the whistle and calls, okay, here's what we're doing next. But with a real team of like-minded musicians.
Okay, cool. I don't think that that's how most people would picture choir.
Yeah.
Thinking of the person up on the podium as something other than just the leader, explicitly the leader. That sounds... I think I get what you mean. And also, I'm not sure I've ever sung in a choir like that. Can you, what is that like to be sort of the leader, viewed as the leader, but it's a different model? What is that feel like?
The other analogy I use with the group, and I have this same speech I make every year, is the parachute in gym class, where everyone gets a slice. Everyone gets a colorful slice and a handle. And if we all have equal pressure and move at the same time, everything's beautiful and even. And if one person lets go, then it luffs. And if one person, goes too fast, then it's uneven for everyone. So we're trying to lift and make the parachute go at the same time. And we're all of the same intent and of the same, equal responsibility, equal buy-in to what we're doing. But someone has to be now it's time for popcorn. Now it's time to do the thing and sit down underneath. So I do okay, team, this is what we're doing next. Everyone arms up, everyone arms down. But if one person lets go, then it doesn't work. And so that's the way we try to operate, and the way it manifests itself in a real way, because we don't have parachutes in rehearsal, is Everyone has training. Most people have music degrees. A lot of people have voice degrees. So there are people who are more experienced singers than me in the choir. There are people who have been paid to sing professionally in choirs in other cities in Canada. So like there's real expertise in the room. And so the balance is, how do we honor that and also work effectively, like work quickly? Because that's one of our other values, is we want to get stuff done in rehearsal. We want to feel like we really carried the ball down the field every rehearsal. So our goal, like one of our values as a choir, is that we're singing 90% of every rehearsal. There's only 10% talking, including friendly talking in rehearsal. I don't know if it's like scientifically that, but that's sort of the goal we're going for. And so everyone in the group has a pad of Post-it notes, and you ask a question out loud only if you feel it's going to contribute to the momentum of the rehearsal.
Okay.
Or if it's important for the whole choir or your whole section. If it's a for you question, you don't put up your hand and ask it. And if it's like a passive aggressive question because the person beside you is singing a B flat instead of a B natural, you also don't ask it. And then everyone gives me all their Post-it notes at the end of rehearsal.
Okay, so they write it on the Post-it note instead.
They write it on the Post-it note, and then I can take everything in, and there's like, 3 people ask the same question, da-da-da. I mark it into my rehearsal plan for the next day, measure 27. Someone wants to know where the S goes. Someone has a question, and I'm like, I don't even understand what this is. I can pull them aside for a chat and be like, can you explain to me the vocal technique thing that you're wondering here? Because I don't get it. They can teach it to me. I bring it to the next rehearsal. I'm like, I had an amazing conversation with Meg. She suggested this. Now we do it. So it allows everyone to have a voice and feel like they can bring their expertise, but it doesn't slow us down. And so that's a model that is like working for us. Like we are still experimenting with it, but it's working. Yeah, I would say it's working for us most of the time.
That's so interesting to me. Yeah. So having been in choirs myself, we obviously were in choir together.
Yeah.
It's just like imagining how satisfying that is to be in a group of so many professionals, first of all.
Yeah.
And then to be respecting that level of expertise and be like, we don't need to slow down and talk about everything. We're going to just make this happen, because there is, as a singer-songwriter, I could sit and like write music myself and fulfill my, like get my own creative juices and get what I need somewhat, like without having to worry about anybody else's input or anything in that moment. But in choir, it's like, maybe if you haven't been in choir or orchestra or something like that, you've never experienced that is your creative rush moment. And if you keep stopping to talk all the time, it just can become really dead energy instead of.
Yeah. I mean, there's everyone in a choir gets something different from it. And we do a little bit of talking about that. Like, what's the thing you're here to take away? Or what's the thing you're bringing to the choir? When I ask that question, everyone has a different answer. So some people don't ever hand in a Post-it note. They're like, I'm good. I'm here to receive and do my best. I'm here to learn. I'm here to not think about my screaming baby at home. Like, everyone brings something different. And like, there are different styles of leadership. There are lots of conductors who are more like a traditional sort of maestro, like, I'm gonna get us from point A to point B, let's go, and I'm gonna teach you. It's just like, that's not the groove that we've fit into. And as I more and more like mature in my role, I realize like the satisfaction in creating an environment where everyone feels like they're bringing what they've got to the game is so much more satisfying than a really efficient rehearsal where what I think we should do gets done really quickly. But we've slipped before. Like, in this journey, we've definitely had rehearsals where there was too much feedback from the choir, and I was like honoring everyone's perspective too much. And then the people who are there just to sing and learn are like, can everyone else stop talking so Amy can run this rehearsal? And I did get that feedback of people being like, don't be afraid to just run the rehearsal and tell us what you want. So yeah, it's a journey for sure. Yeah.
A lot of what you're saying is making me want to know about your family dynamic in your home with your kids, because a lot of this really feels like I'm not trying to be psychoanalytical, so we don't have to go into your family dynamic, but a lot of this sounds like it could relate to parenting and like a marriage too.
Yeah.
So tell me about your family. I know your family, of course, but tell everybody else about your family.
Yeah. There's a lot of energy in my house. That's what I will tell you. I have 2 boys who are 8 and 10, and a husband who is part of the energy in the house for
Yep.
sure. And yeah, there's a lot going on. There's like people playing mini stick hockey on the floor or jumping on the couch 50% of the waking hours in our
How many
house.
times is it your husband?
No, not so often. Well, the mini stick hockey definitely, but thank goodness his
Right.
knees get sore, so he can't do it as long as he can. But yeah, no, we're a busy bunch. The kids are super sporty, but also very musical and discovering their own little musical personalities, which is
Yeah.
awesome. So yeah, and Vernon's a musician too, so there's lots going on.
Right. Yeah, Vernon, your husband, is a professional musician and a university professor as well,
Yeah.
right? Do you think that 2 professional musicians being married to one another, like what kind of an impact do you think that has on like, well, on you in general? What kind of impact do you think that has on your life?
I mean, I think being married to a musician is hard.
Yeah.
I think like running a family with a musician is hard because of the schedule. Like, because to be a musician, you cannot be home for dinner at 5 o'clock every day.
Right.
And also working with someone, and like I could say this him about me as much as me about him, being married to someone who cares so much about their job requires understanding. Like you need to be able to, you have to have grace for that person who is got some musical creative project in their head while they're washing the dishes and who is making time on Saturday afternoon to practice or score study or have a rehearsal. And so I think the fact that we're both professional musicians makes it easy to understand each other. I think that's a strength. And I think it would be hard for like an engineer and a musician to be married and bring
Who would that
bring
be?
understanding to each other. Could be lots of people.
Yeah. That's interesting because I am married to an engineer turned farmer, actually. But I wonder if being married to a farmer is actually shares a lot of similarities to being married to a musician, because his job is intensely important to him, and an erratic schedule and seasons of busyness, extreme busyness that there's no working around. Like he's going to be out there working until it's done, which would be like there's Christmas for a musician, Christmas season or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of similarities, I think. So
Interesting.
that's interesting because when you said being married to a musician is hard, I'm like, yeah, I believe that it is.
Yeah.
And being married to a farmer is hard in probably a lot of the same ways. But then, I don't know, there's something really exciting about knowing that you both are doing something that you love to do.
Yeah. And we have, like, we talk shop a lot, which works for us. I think it could be exhausting in other relationships, but like we really understand what each other is doing and what, like when we come home and workshop something that happened today, we're able to like really bring insights into each other's professional lives.
Yeah. I think as a musician, that's probably really unique and important because I think, especially you're both in sort of mostly classical fields.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people out in the world who really understand what a classical musician is doing to prepare at the level you guys are preparing for.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And what we do is different enough. Like he's a cellist. He plays on his own. He plays chamber music. He plays it orchestrally sometimes, and he conducts the chamber orchestra. So he's conducting with orchestra. So we're also in parallel careers. Like it's not like we're competitive with each other or doing things that are sort of like, well, when I do that, this is what I do better than you kind of thing. We're able to, like, where it's different enough that we can bring insight to each other without feeling like we overlap or competitive.
Yeah. Going back to talking about Projēkt, you were talking about staying out of the way of other choirs in your community, which, if people don't know, like St. John's is like the mecca of choir in Canada, probably one of the meccas in the world. Like, it's an intense, amazing
I've
choir
heard it.
city.
Yeah. I've heard it said that we have more choirs per capita than anywhere in North America. I don't
Okay.
know if that's scientifically backed up or if there's
We're not
data.
a scientific podcast.
Yeah,
We're not going to worry about that.
exactly. But it feels like it. Like it's
Yeah.
an amazing, amazing choir city for sure.
Yeah. So you were talking about staying out of the way of other choirs, like not programming yourself to compete. And I also wonder, like, how you have a day job, you have 2 kids, you have a performing husband who also has a day job.
Yeah.
What, like, your scheduling plans, your life plans around like where and how you carve time out for your music, not just the performances, but obviously you think about that when you're like
Yeah.
planning how much and when your choir will perform, but
Yeah.
like the whole way you think about your time and how much of your time and when you spend on your music. I don't really know exactly what the question is I'm trying to ask, but like,
No, I get it.
do you feel like if time was no object, you know, would it be a completely different scenario, the way you
Yeah.
approach that?
If I had my druthers, for this group, I would work 4 days a week at my day job and have a day a week to invest in Projēkt, but I don't.
Right.
So I do all of my score study in the corners. A lot of it used to be from like 5 a.m. till 6:30 a.m.,
Ugh.
but that really, really wears me down. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out a new model. I did take some vacation days in the summer to do like an intense period of preparing for the fall concert, and that worked well, but I haven't been able to squeak out that luxury for the winter project, so I don't know how that's going to go. I'm just,
Right.
I don't know, maybe
Right.
some Christmas vacation time. Yeah, that's a hard part for me, for sure. Like,
Yeah.
there's this instinct to make my priorities the last priorities, and Projēkt feels like a me project. So household stuff gets prioritized, work stuff gets prioritized. Often Vernon stuff gets prioritized because it's like his job, because he's a music professor at the university, and mine, I do have like a little bit of conflict internally where, because this isn't my full-time job anymore, sometimes it feels like my hobby, even though I'm doing it on a pretty professional level.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, well, you know, when I have time to deal with that, I'll deal with it. So it like, one of my stresses is figuring out, and I always feel underprepared, even when I've put in, 60 hours of prep for a project. I still show up to every rehearsal being like, ugh, I wish I was more prepared.
Right. So you just said if you had your druthers, you'd have 4 days a week of your day job and then 1 day a week. So you wouldn't choose to be a full-time musician if that was an option?
Oh, that's not an option in St. John's. There's no
Okay.
full-time music career for me here because there are so many good choirs and so many amazing like musicians leading those organizations. So that just hasn't been something that I fathomed for myself in a really
Gotcha.
long time. If we won the lottery, I'd probably like start a bunch of fun musical projects. Like I'd probably start a professional choir and,
Yeah.
I have some ideas of what I might do. But realistically, it's just not something that that I have fathomed basically since I moved to St. John's.
Right. Okay. So would you say, like, do you think that it's being in St. John's is a bigger factor in that than maybe having kids? Or
Mm. Mm. That's a really good question because my change in career coincided with having kids. Like I moved here and then I was pregnant like 2 months after I moved to St. John's.
Right.
And so my career shift and becoming a mom happened at the same time. And now when I look at other like colleagues who are full-time conductors and are moms, I'm like, ooh, I'm not jealous of you. Like
No.
when I was conducting full-time, I was running 2 or 3 rehearsals a day
Right.
from 2:30 p.m. till 10 p.m. And like, I don't wish that on my motherhood self. Like, because I
Right.
want to be home. I want to be home and make dinner for my kids. So
Yeah.
I don't know how I could do that job. I don't think I want to do that job and be a mom at the same time.
Okay. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, that's fair. Yeah. There's a lot of things that feel like they would be personally satisfying, but they're so unsatisfying as a mom that you can't, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're like for me, that's like the idea of touring
Yeah.
I I just don't want to do that. Sometimes I'm like, man, it would be fun. And then I'm like, I don't want to be gone from my
Yeah.
kids for like a month or something. That's insane.
Yeah.
For what I really want, I want to be with my family more than I
Yeah.
want any of that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And for me with Projēkt, what I've like learned through this journey is like all I really want in my whole life is a good rehearsal. Like I am so much about the process
Yeah.
and so little about the performance. This is something we talk about as a choir because they're like, when are we going to record? When are we going to go on tour? And I'm like, ugh, do we have to? Like, can't we just rehearse? I just want to rehearse every day. I know we have to do concerts because that's what you're working towards and that's how you bring music into community. So I get that. But man, a good rehearsal where everyone's on fire together and we're getting work done together, that's what drives me. And so that's sort of what I've prioritized is like good rehearsals. Now I'm like, okay, I get it. We need to set some bigger goals. And like, I do have a recording project in mind for 2027. But yeah, no, it's just about the process for me.
Oh, that's so interesting. Would you like say that as an artist, do you consider yourself a performing artist, or would you relate maybe closer to like a painter or a writer who like has something to say but doesn't really want an audience, like a face-to-face audience?
I consider myself like a pedagogue more than an artist. For me, the mark I want to leave on the world is in rehearsal.
Okay.
And concerts are part of what we do, but it's not where I'm shining or like what I feel like I have to bring to the world.
Right.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a conversation this week about my daughter's volleyball team. We were talking to her coach, and it was an adults talking. The kids weren't around to talk about it, but we were talking about how, as a coach, like in the middle of a game, yeah, he can try to from the sidelines like yell instructions or help them when they're missing stuff, but he's like, I have to do it in practice. He's like, by the game time, it's game time. Like,
for
let's
sure.
go.
Yeah. I say that about concerts all the time. I'm like, by the dress rehearsal, I'm like, my work's basically done. Like, here we go. I'll be there for the concert, and definitely like I'm part of the success of a concert. But I do feel like by the time we get to the concert, it's out of my control, and I'm just sort of handing it over to the choir and steering. Like, this is what we've done. This is what we've worked on in rehearsal. Yeah.
Do you think that might be part of why it's less exciting than the rehearsal for you?
Yeah, for sure. Like I love the feeling of progressing rather than the feeling of arriving. And I feel validated by light bulbs going off in people's eyes and or us, like lining up a chord and everyone singing exactly the same vowel and being like, yeah, we did it.
Yeah.
More than I'm validated by applause.
Right.
That's what it really is. So I always feel like, oh, thanks for clapping. I'm glad you liked it. But man, you should have heard that chord we sang Measure 57 last Tuesday. It was so good.
That's a great preamble to a song. You're going to like this one, but let me tell you.
Exactly.
Perfection.
There is one chord. Exactly. When Terry drops down the octave.
You should say that. People would then be like listening, like rapt, waiting for that one chord to arrive. That'd be amazing. That'd be so good. Oh, man. Well, I think I don't know. I love this. I've known you for decades, and I still learned some things about you today and found out some things about your perspective. I don't know. And it's interesting as a mom artist myself, sometimes I assume I know why somebody feels a certain way because I assume it's similar to me. But I have a feeling I'm going to be learning not to assume things because even from one of my very, very closest people in the world, I'm just like, oh, that's not what I thought from you.
Cool.
So
it's also evolved for me. I'm very gratefully in a phase of evolving, learning more and more, and Projēkt is getting better and being really responsive to this leadership thing we're playing around with.
Yeah.
So it's also possible that 6 months ago I wasn't articulating this way.
Right. Well, and I wonder actually, do you think that maybe even 2 or 3 years ago or something, when you were in a much more energy depleting stage of motherhood, let me say, with much younger kids, like it would have been
Oh my
different by
gosh.
virtue of.
This is the first year. So I started Projēkt 8 years ago. And almost every project we've done, so that's like 2 or 3 projects a year since then, when it finishes, I'm like, I don't know if that was worth it. I'm so burnt out by getting that across the finish line. Why do I do this? And I've told myself so many times, like, well, 40-year-old, I'm doing this for 40-year-old Amy, because 33-year-old Amy is exhausted by this, but 40-year-old Amy is going to wish that she had kept conducting, or that she'd been building a
Right.
project, so that when she can get her head up out of the water, that there's something to build. And this is the first year. I'm 43 and it's been 8 years. This is the first year where I've been like, 33-year-old Amy was right. She nailed it. Thanks, girl. Because it has been really like just exhausting doing it all.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's also like this year I'm like, okay, now that I like do feel somewhat prepared for rehearsal, and now that I don't feel so exhausted that my legs are shaking in rehearsal, like now let's play with the leadership model and see what we get. And I think I have like the bandwidth to be a little more vulnerable, trusting the group more, because we've built something over time. So for sure, like it is coming out of the fog of early motherhood too.
Yeah, which is
At
really
8 and
exciting.
10.
It's really exciting because like every stage of life has something different to offer.
Yeah.
It seems, and different challenges and different craziness, but like I find it so exciting when something different is happening and new. So when
Yeah.
you're saying you're like in an evolution phase, to me I get so pumped up, so excited for that. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yay. Well, thank you for being here. And I'm going to make sure there are show notes that link to Projēkt's Facebook page.
Great.
And maybe Business and Arts Newfoundland for anybody who wants to know more about that.
Great.
Newfoundland Labrador, right? It's both.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that you'd want to make sure people know about or know to check out before we say goodbye today?
Nope. That's
Nope.
good. That's it. Yep.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Amy.